You know, it's not every day your neighbor, who also happens to be the HOA president, stands up at her own engagement party and casually announces she's gifting your private family lake to her fiancé. Yeah, that happened. And when I showed up to stop that madness, she had security throw me out like I was some trespasser on my own land. Next morning, at 6 a.m., there were cops at my door because she claimed I threatened her. This entitled Karen really thought she could steal my family's 50-year-old ranch lake in broad daylight. But greed has a way of backfiring, and what followed was a $3 million lawsuit no one saw coming. Before I dive in, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? Let me take you back to where this whole nightmare began. It was a warm Saturday evening in June, the kind of night where the sound of laughter and clinking glasses floats over the fence. I was sitting on my grandfather's old wooden bench by the lake, watching the koi swim in lazy circles, feeling the calm of generations past. Then, the noise from Patricia's backyard next door started to grow louder. She was throwing an engagement party for Derek, a real estate developer who always looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The lake? It's been in my family for 3 generations, passed down from my grandfather who built the ranch with his own hands back in the 70s. Every morning I'd feed those koi, some were descendants of the original fish my grandfather had imported from Japan. The water was crystal clear, fed by a natural spring, surrounded by willow trees offering shade on hot summer days. This lake wasn't just water, it was living history. A place where my grandfather taught me to fish, where my parents got engaged, where countless family moments unfolded. As a landscape architect, I understood its value, not just monetary but spiritual. Ironically, Patricia, as HOA president for the past 3 years, had tried repeatedly to claim community access to what she called the most beautiful water feature in the development. But tonight, that party noise suddenly died down, and I heard her voice over a microphone. Curious, I edged closer to the fence. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate our love," she said, dripping with fake sweetness. "As you know, in our wonderful HOA community, we believe in sharing and caring for each other. We're not just neighbors, we're family." The crowd murmured in approval, and I rolled my eyes. Patricia had mastered playing the benevolent leader, all while sending out violation notices over grass that was a half-inch too tall. Then came the part that froze my blood. "And speaking of sharing," she said, "I want to give Derek the most special engagement gift imaginable." She paused for effect. "I'm officially gifting this beautiful lake to my future husband." The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Phones flashed everywhere through the fence gaps. This wasn't a mistake. It was a calculated, public stunt to create an illusion of ownership. I didn't waste a second. I pushed through the crowd, deed to my grandfather's property clutched tightly in my hand. "Excuse me," I said, trying to keep my voice steady despite the rage swelling inside. "That's my lake on my property. You have no right to gift something you don't own." The crowd went silent, all eyes flicking between Patricia and me, like we were in some bizarre tennis match. Patricia's smile never wavered, but I caught that glint, the satisfaction of a woman who'd been expecting this confrontation. "Oh, Marcus," she said into the microphone, voice dripping with fake concern, "I think you're confused. This is a community asset, and as HOA president, I have every right to allocate community resources." I held up the deed. "This document says otherwise. That lake has been private property for 50 years. Derek stood beside her, looking uncomfortable, eyes glued to his phone. Patricia's face hardened. "Security," she snapped. "We have someone disrupting our celebration. Remove this party crasher." 2 burly men in black shirts appeared and moved toward me. I protested, "You can't just claim someone else's property because you want to." My words were drowned out as Patricia took the mic again. "I'm sorry, everyone. Some people just can't stand to see others happy." They grabbed my arms and pushed me toward the gate. I stumbled over a garden hose, fell hard, and the deed flew from my hand. Patricia shouted, "He's attacking us. Someone call the police." The guards hauled me up and shoved me outside, slamming the gate behind me. Through the fence, I heard her address the guests. "Some neighbors just can't handle change, but Derek's Lake will be the most beautiful addition to our community." The crowd cheered again while I stood there, grass stains on my clothes, fury burning in my chest, listening to them celebrate the theft of my family's legacy. Within hours, a video titled, Jealous neighbor ruins engagement party had hit 500,000 views. Comments poured in, most calling me entitled, selfish, and worse. The video was edited, of course, starting right when I was already arguing, making me look like the unprovoked aggressor. But among the noise, a few sharp viewers caught on. Wait, did she say she's gifting someone else's lake? One asked. How can you gift something you don't own? Another added. Some noticed the security was already in position, calling it staged. I screenshot those comments before they disappeared, building my evidence file. Patricia might have won this round in public opinion, but the real battle was just beginning. The next morning at 6 a.m., there was a knock on my door. 2 police officers stood there, with Patricia lurking behind like a vulture waiting for roadkill. Mr. Marcus, the lead officer said, hand resting casually on his belt, we received a complaint about threats made last night. Mind if we ask a few questions? Patricia stepped forward, face a mask of concern I'd seen rehearsed 1,000 times. Officer, I'm terrified. He burst into my party and threatened everything I love. I have 50 witnesses. I took a deep breath. Officers, there's been a huge misunderstanding. Ms. Morrison announced at her party that she was gifting my private lake. I simply came to clarify she doesn't own it. The officers exchanged looks. The younger one pulled out a notepad. Ma'am, is this true? Did you claim ownership of his property? Patricia pulled out a folder. The HOA bylaws state all community waterfront areas are under HOA jurisdiction. Section 47B mentions community lake access. The lead officer frowned. Ma'am, this section appears to refer to the public boat ramp on Elm Street, not private property. Do you have documentation showing ownership of Mr. Marcus Lake? Silence. Patricia's face flushed red and sputtered, that's outdated paperwork. The spirit of the law clearly indicates shared community resources. I smiled. Officers, I have the deed right here. The lake has been private property since 1972. The younger officer looked between the deed and Patricia. This is clearly a civil matter. Making false claims to law enforcement is serious. Patricia's facade cracked. But he threatened me. Everyone saw him get violent. The lead officer turned to me. Sir, did you threaten Ms. Morrison? I shook my head. I told her she couldn't gift property she doesn't own. If that's a threat, every property law textbook in America is threatening. The younger officer snorted, quickly covering it with a cough. Patricia's face darkened. This isn't over, she hissed, but the officers were already walking away. Ma'am, the lead called over his shoulder, consult a real estate attorney before making more public claims. Have a nice day. Patricia stood on my lawn shaking with rage. You think you've won? I've been HOA president for 3 years. I know every loophole. That lake will be Derek's wedding present whether you like it or not. She stormed off, and I thought it was over. How wrong I was. By afternoon, heavy machinery rumbled onto the property line. Workers unloaded massive posts and billboard parts while Patricia live-streamed the operation. Hi everyone. Patricia here with an update on Derek's Lake Resort project, she chirped. We're making it official with proper signage. This beautiful lakefront will be transformed into a community treasure with spa, marina, and wedding venue. I watched in disbelief as they erected a 20-foot billboard, showing an artist rendering of my lake surrounded by commercial development. The sign was technically on her property, but the arrow pointed straight at my lake. Derek stood off to the side, anxious and sweating, as glued to his phone. When Patricia called him over for a photo, his forced smile didn't reach his eyes. Something was seriously wrong. Patricia told her viewers some might try to stand in the way of progress, but love conquers all. Derek and I are building a future. No bitter neighbor can stop that. Her live stream had 10,000 viewers, with comments both supporting her vision and questioning the legality. Patricia didn't care about legality, only perception, and she was winning that war. I texted my lawyer, Gerald. Need to meet ASAP. Neighbors escalating, cops involved, now advertising commercial development on my property. Gerald replied quickly, can you come to my office in an hour? Start documenting everything. False claims, witnesses, we're going to need it all. As I gathered documents, I noticed something odd in the HOA paperwork Patricia had shown police. The election records from 3 years ago showed unusually high turnout and unanimous support from addresses I knew were vacant at the time, I texted Gerald again. Something's not right with these election records. He replied, already on it. Did some digging. You won't believe what I found. Looking at the massive billboard proclaiming theft of my property, I realized this wasn't about A.